let's start. I think we are 21 and we are 35, so Peter's forecast was pretty sharp. Very warm welcome to all of you who have invested your time in coming to this event. As a friend of mine used to say, the first is always special, which makes this event very special, because this is the very first Swiss meetup on personal agility. My name is Jan Farkas, and I will be one of your hosts. We are 5 here, and we will introduce ourselves later. The first most important question to answer is why this meetup? Personal agility is now a worldwide movement. It has become a worldwide movement, but it started from here, from Zurich actually, and it was started by Peter Stevens, who is here with us, and we are all working on spreading the word of personal agility so that more and more people can benefit from this novel piece of puzzle in the whole landscape of agility. I like to think of personal agility like the Swiss Army knife of agility. I think it's a multi-purpose tool, and the key here is that as a multi-purpose tool, you have a lot of possibilities of how to use it and in which domain to use it, and that's why it makes sense that you have 5 hosts actually today, because we all use personal agility in a bit different sense. We have different viewpoints, and we use personal agility in different domains. So that's why we are 5. And while we will introduce ourselves, you will see in which context do we use personal agility. So before introducing ourselves, let me again copy here in the chat. Please take a look at the chat. You will see a link to a Google Docs. Actually, Peter already introduced it, but since then there are 3 new participants joining us. So let me now repeat what Peter just said. So here, if you open this link, you will see this screen. We will use this Google Sheet today, and there are 3 tabs you can see on the bottom. One is request for info. This is what's on my screen now. What you see here is your host. So the 5 of us, there are contact info if you want to contact us or you want to learn more about us. And then there is a request for info here. So please put your name here and your contact info if you would like to get updates on new events, because we plan new events like this. And if you would like to be alerted on this, then please put your contact info here. The other tab is questions. Most of today's agenda is about the Q&A, where you can really drive the discussions, what we will talk about. So please, if you have any questions, just put your name here, put your question, and that's it. Basically, we will go through it at the second half of today. Then you can see the agenda here. We will start by introducing ourselves, the 5 hosts, and then Peter will go into a quick introduction to personal agility, and then right away we go into the Q&A section, as said. There's another interesting site that you might be interested in. The link is just here, Personal Agility Institute. This is the official website of the Personal Agility Institute, and if you go to trainers and ambassadors, you can see all the trainers available worldwide, and you can choose your location. Probably Switzerland is the most interesting for you now to see who are the personal agility experts in your region. Okay, with that, let's go into the introduction mode, and let me start it, and then I will give the talking stick, and we should, as the hosts, give the talking stick to all of the hosts, and then please give it back to me. So my name is Jan Farkas, and I am, Peter, do you want to say something? No, okay. So my name is Jan Farkas, and I'm the co-owner of Halki and Agile Consulting in Zurich. And we are a small specialized boutique consulting firm. Our work is all about innovation, agility, and the leadership skills that are needed in order to create an innovative and agile organization. And this is exactly the context in which I'm using personal agility. So my topic is personal agility for leaders and entrepreneurs. We use personal agility as the minimum experiment. Experiments are very important in agility. And personal agility provides an opportunity for you as an executive or an entrepreneur to pilot basically agility in your life, to have some experience with agility. And then later, if you liked what you've seen, you can lead by example with agility, which helps to make your whole organization innovative and agile. So this is my context, and I would like to give the talking stick to Peter, the father of the personal agility system. Please tell who you are and what is the context you are using personal agility in.
Okay, so as you heard, my name is Peter Stevens. I'm an American based in Switzerland. I've been a Scrum trainer for a long time, one of the pioneers here in Switzerland. And about 5 years ago, I started applying personal agility to my life, or applying the principles of agility to my life. And what came out of it was the personal agility system. And for me, I am mostly focused right now on, well, enabling personal agility to help people around the world. We believe that there are literally millions, if not hundreds of millions of people whose lives could be made, substantially improved, if they kind of are able to live their life according to purpose. And so my primary goal is to enable that to happen. In my own practice, I teach Scrum, which I consider to be kind of a form of applied common sense, even if it seems counterintuitive at times. And I've been doing recently a lot of executive coaching. Okay, so like working with leadership teams to help them figuring out where they want to go. And I'm going to pass the talking stick to Adelina.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning, everyone. I'm Adelina. I'm Greek-Romanian and I'm based in Zurich, Switzerland for the past 6 years. I'm a professional certified coach and I specialize in career transition and culture facilitation. I have been using personal agility for almost 1 year. And my goal is to inspire ambitious professionals to create and implement their unique career blueprint and at the same time achieve and maintain a healthy work-life balance. So this is mainly the context where I have been using personal agility for myself, but also for my coaches. I'm very happy to be here today and welcome everyone. Thank you. And I pass the sticker to Pierre.
So good morning, everyone. I'm Pierre Nice. I'm French-German, now very newly located in Zurich. I'm an Agile coach. I make large transformations since over 13 years, and I use personal agility to have an impact on an individual interacting in systems. So I'm a system thinker too, and I think it's worth the effort having a tool to make follow up with our coaches all around our journey. So, and that's over for me, and I pass the stick to Bertrand.
I think we are passing it to the ambassadors. Is there anyone else? Have we gotten everyone?
No, I pass it to Tobias first.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Tobias, whatever. Born, raised, and stayed in Switzerland, near Basel, always. I'm working for Adobe as a manager, coach, and facilitator. And this is my personal agility board. And actually, I use it. I came to personal agility in 2019, and it helped me to get out of my busyness and focus really on what makes me happy, what's important to me. And especially during the pandemic, I'm working at home, probably like most of you, since more than a year, and it really helped me to focus on what's important to me. And I see a lot of people around me who are struggling with busyness, and I want to help them get out of it. That's me. then I think I pass it back to Jan or to Bertrand. I'm not sure.
Thank you. So yeah, I think the official we have 5 official hosts. So thank you for your introductions. Yes, and now to the second part. Again, I would like to draw your attention because we are growing in participants. I am continuously copying a link in the chat. Please take a look at that, because once Peter will have a short introduction of personal agility, then we will switch to a Q&A format, ask us anything basically. And if you click on this link, you will see a tab said questions, and you can write your questions, whatever is on your mind about personal agility and the application of personal agility. Just write your question here under the questions tab, and we will answer that. So the next topic in the agenda is a quick introduction by Peter, the originator of the personal agility system. It has been mentioned that personal agility is by now a worldwide movement, but it actually originated from Zurich, Switzerland. And if I think of what the culture, if there is, or what the citizenship of personal agility is, it's American, Swiss, and it somehow in my mind was inherited from Peter. So with that, I give the word to Peter to introduce you to the personal agility system.
Okay, well, thank you, Jan. You know, that's really interesting. I never thought of the cultural heritage of in terms of countries. You know, I thought about, well, you know, who are the mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, grandparents of personal agility? And I came up with things like Scrum and Kanban and powerful questions, and maybe wait but why, and start with why. But culturally, you know, personal agility really is a worldwide thing, because you know, I'm an American living in Switzerland. But what got me started on powerful questions was a Canadian living in Germany. What got me interested in things like, well, what do yes and no mean, was my travels to India. And in fact, India and Sri Lanka are something of a hotbed of the development of personal agility. And I think particularly it's a worldwide movement because well, especially the Indians are everywhere. They're distributed. They're kind of like the Italians in the 1800s. You find people of Indian origin everywhere, and they're wonderfully networked. Okay, so it's been a very cross-cultural development. So what I'd like to do is, and it's interesting. World traveling is kind of an interesting thing to talk about, because navigation is kind of where we start with personal agility. You say, where am I? Who am I? Where am I going? And these are really hard questions to answer. And one of the things that we use is, we call this the life is the ocean metaphor. So I'd like you to imagine for a moment, you know, let's roll back the clock about 100 or 200 years, like about to 1985, when there was no GPS. Kind of hard to believe. If you wanted to sail across the ocean, you had no motor, you had no navigation, or no GPS. So how did you get from here to there? Well, you basically used the sails to power the boat. But there were other forces acting on the boat. So, navigation was a tricky problem. And how do you know where you are? Well, to know where you are, well, first of all, how do you get from, say, Portugal to Jamaica? Well, the first thing that you have to do is you kind of plot your course. Okay, say, this is where I think I'm going to be along the course, on my way to Jamaica, because it's going to take days, if not weeks, to get there in a sailing boat. Okay, now how do you navigate? You get out into the middle of the ocean. There are all these forces pushing the boat in various different directions. Some of them move the boat forward, some of them don't. And the way you did it is you looked at, the position of the stars. Okay, where is Polaris? You looked at what time the sun comes up or certain constellations come up, and you needed a clock to know exactly what time it is. And on the basis of these things, you could figure out where you are. So basically, once you've plotted your course, you would then set sail for Jamaica. And then every once in a while, maybe at the end of each day when the sun goes down, or a little bit later in the evening when Orion is coming over the horizon, you would say, okay, what time is it? Where is Polaris? You'd say, I'm on course. And if you're on course, that means you're pointed in the right direction. And if you're not on course, that means you've got to adjust your heading. Well, what happens if you get caught in a storm? Okay, the storm can rock the boat. The storm can, you've got clouds, so you can't see the stars. You can't see when the sun comes up, and those waves might be big compared to the size of your boat. In fact, you might even be worried about the boat sinking. So you've got all these urgent things to do, which keep you away from navigation. And what happens to your course in the storm? Well, you could literally be going anywhere depending on where the storm is taking you. In this example, we're drifting off to Antarctica. And so what do? You deal with the storm, and at some point you get a calm moment and you say, where am I? What is my destination? Where is Jamaica? And in this case, it looks like Jamaica is about 40 degrees to the right. And so this is the point to adjust our course and resume navigation to Jamaica. Okay. And it turns out that this is a pretty good metaphor for life. Jamaica represents our long-term goals. The storm represents all the urgent demands coming from, friends, family, bosses, customers, clients, etc., which are keeping us distracted from achieving our long-term goals. So, and in fact, this is kind of the problem, because there are so many people demanding so many things from us. Everybody's got too much to do. And the reality is we only have so much capacity. Okay, there are only so many hours in a day. No matter how hard we try, sooner or later, our body insists on doing things like eating and sleeping. And, so how do we deal with all of this? Well, a natural reaction is to try to do everything. Okay, and so we call this multitasking. And, what this means is, we're dividing our time among lots of different things. Now, unfortunately, this slows us down tremendously. We have this feeling that we're never accomplishing anything. So what I'd like to do is illustrate that. This is you working on one thing. Standardized task that you could do in a week. At the end of the week, you can pat yourself on the back. If it was something really important, you can have a little party and say, wow, I got something done. Well, what happens if you're working on 5 things at a time? Okay, well, first of all, it's going to take 5 times longer because you're only putting 1/5 of your time into it. And actually, you've introduced a new task, which is figuring out what to do next. And that's actually pretty expensive. The rule of thumb says you're going to lose 20% of your capacity for each additional task. By the time that you have, by the time you got 5 of them to do in parallel, it can easily take you half a year to get done what you could have done in a week. Okay, and that's the real problem with multitasking. And most of us have got so many things. That important task, the one that's taking us to Jamaica, we might not even work on it at all. So we never get to Jamaica. Okay. Now, when you're multitasking, another thing happens. Okay. Every week you kind of look at what you're doing. Man, I didn't get anything done. Man, I suck. Man, I suck. Man, I suck. Okay. There's nothing, there's nothing to celebrate because you're never getting anything done. You're working like crazy, but you're never getting anything done. Now, the problem is because you're working so hard, you don't have any time to think about or to reflect on what really matters, okay? Because some of the things that you're doing are going to get you to Jamaica. Some of them really make a difference, and some of them are just keeping you busy, okay? The technical term for this, we know this from Lean, we call that waste, okay? So if you want to have impact, if you want to make it to your Jamaica, what you need to be able to do is focus your efforts on the things that matter. Now, why is that okay? Well, we got too much to do. So almost by definition, some things aren't going to get done. We want to make sure that the ones that do get done are the ones that matter, and the ones that don't get done are the ones that don't matter. Okay, that's the basic idea. But remember, we've also got the problem with the headwinds and the crosswinds and the distractions. So we actually need to be able to hold the course over time. Okay, when we get blown off course, to turn back towards Jamaica, okay? And this is what personal agility is trying to do for us, okay? So we basically have a simple framework based on 6 questions. The first one is what really matters. This isn't necessarily the easiest one to answer, but once you do have an answer for it, it can help you understand where you are, and it can help you make decisions about how to use your time moving forward. So the next question is, what did I do last week? Okay, and this is literally looking at that trail of dots behind you to see what have you been doing? How does this line up with what really matters? That's who you are today. Okay, then you've got this long list of things to do, too much to do. So, first we want to get a handle on it. What could I do this week? And of those things, which of them are important, which are going to get you to Jamaica, which of them are urgent, which of them are going to keep the boat from sinking, and finally, which of them are going to make you happy. And being happy is an end, is an intrinsic end all into itself, which is fully justified. Okay, so you look at all those things, and then you say, okay, what's the heading I want to set? What can I expect to get done? What do I really want to get done this week? Maybe even what do I really want to get done today? Okay, and that's maintaining your focus on Jamaica in the context of all the other urgent things that you have to do. And finally, there's a sixth question, which is who can help? And well, that is just the go-to question, for coaches to help people get stuck. And it turns out interacting with other people suggests something very powerful, which I'm going to call emergence, which we'll touch on a little bit later. People can come together to be bigger than they are, to create giants. And this who can help is the gateway to emergence. Okay, so basically the idea in personal agility, for me, it's a simple coaching-based framework to align what you do with what you really care about. Okay, and the idea is last week you were somebody, you got some stuff done, that made you who you are today. Next week, you're going to do some other stuff and get some other things done, and that should take you a step closer to who you want to be or what you want to achieve. So, as with many other Agile frameworks, we visualize our work and our priorities. The thing which is different here is we have an information radiator, that left column, what really matters, so that you kind of this helps you keep your eye on the ball, keeps your eye on Jamaica. And it's more about balancing the forces in your life. It's not about this single-minded devotion to one goal, because we all have multiple things that we have to keep track of. But what we do is we use color coding of our individual tickets, and this helps us maintain the balance to see how each task that we do serves something that matters. So what happens when you celebrate and choose? Oh, we call this process celebrate what you got done, choose what you want to do moving forward. Why do we call it celebration? Well, every day, every week, you got something done. Every week, you've got something to celebrate and celebrate and celebrate and celebrate. And you know what? That just affects, that just has a positive effect on you. All these reviewing all the stuff that you didn't get done. Think about your last status review meeting at work. Okay, how energizing was it? How different is that from a sprint review where you can celebrate all of the features that you've got done, hopefully to appreciative stakeholders, okay? So basically, not only are we getting more done, probably much more than we ever realized, but we're really going through this kind of repeated celebration, okay? And so when we talk about personal agility, our key activity, really the only one we do, celebrate what we got done, choose what we want to do moving forward. So Jan talked about a worldwide movement. Last year, together with Maria Mattarelli, we launched the Personal Agility Institute. We envision a world where people live and work according to things that really matter. And our mission, and as you see, we have a worldwide network. I'm not even sure if this is up to date anymore. It's definitely got the ends to end covered, but I'm not sure if it's as filled in as it should be. But those represent our ambassadors around the world. Our mission is to enable 1 million people and companies to change their situation measurably and obviously for the better. So what is personal agility about? Well, first thing is purpose, what really matters. Align what you do with the things that matter. Celebrate what you got done. Whatever you got done, even if it's different than what you set out to do, you got something done, celebrate it. Choose. You've got too much to do. So choose the things that are going to make a difference for the people and things you care about. That could be in a work context or that could be in a personal context, but the principle is the same. Now, finally, or almost finally, the next one is emergence. Okay, now personal agility is a coaching-based framework. Why is that important? Well, emergence is what happens when individuals interact with things to create things bigger than themselves. Okay, so for instance, a flock of birds is somehow a thing. You can point to it. You can see that it has its own behavior, which is different from the individual birds. It's a bigger thing, and it turns out emergence is it appears to be a fundamental characteristic of how the universe works. And amazing things, even like moonshots, are made possible by emergence. And with coaching, with these coaching skills, you can guide emergence around you. Okay, and I think this is really the key for you to become who you want to be, or for the team or the organization that you're in, for that to become who you want them to be. Okay, and finally, kindness. Now, we've all heard, the prime directive, the retrospective prime directive. Everybody's doing the best you can. Okay, but how many frameworks really apply that? How many of them really believe it? Okay, I'm a Scrum trainer and I really love Scrum, but they keep talking about accountability and responsibility, and it sounds like someone wants to threaten me if I don't do what I'm supposed to do. Personal agility, because it's based on powerful questions, it encourages a culture of kindness, first to yourself. Okay, you are doing the best you can, given what you knew at the time, and what are you going to do moving forward? And it turns out that culture is kind of contagious. You start applying this to yourself, and it becomes natural to apply it to other people as well. So, kindness isn't something that I set out to include in personal agility when I started it. It's something that emerged out of the practice. So what's been happening with personal agility? Well, starting beginning of last year, Maria and I have been collecting case studies. We collected a first batch of 10 case studies, which are now in our book. And they, they covered a variety of areas. Each one of them are fully documented. We've got cases coming from, directors of companies, Walter Stulzer here in Zurich. The case that really launched the personal agility movement was Sharon, who was working 6 jobs, dealing with all of the problems that you can imagine with having a minimal income in the United States. Everything from toxic relationships to banks that were, eating her alive with bank fees. And within a year, she was able to completely turn that around and create a much more solid life. Ben Seaver, another example, his team basically learn personal agility together, created a culture of deep trust among the leadership team, which enabled them to really collaborate together super effectively. They reached their valuation in half the time that they thought it was going to take. They're a startup company. We started collecting from the get-go, benefits, what are people reporting? And so we got kind of a lot of line item things, which I'll let you read yourselves. Everything from beating procrastination, feeling better about yourself. Some people reported, in fact, some people have applied personal agility to improve their health. That's what got Maria's attention. She heard that what really matters question and realized, hey, I need to do something more for my health. I've been in the hospital because I have poor health. My health isn't even on my radar screen. One question changed the direction of her life. Now, we've been applying personal agility for about 5 years now. Other people have been doing it starting about, with an increasing number. And we're starting to see some interesting cases start to emerge. One of them is several of our practitioners have been coaching C-suites. And we've been finding various tools within personal agility help create alignment and trust at the C-suite level. I've got my next call this morning is basically an alignment and trust problem in the C-suite. And I'm using the tools of personal agility to help them, figure out where they want to go forward. That same tool set, it looks like if you already are a product owner or a Scrum Master, this could be a huge benefit for you. I might ask Shubra what his experience, what his impression is, because he was looking for an advanced product owner class and took personal agility instead. And I don't know. Well, I'll let him speak in his own words. But this is, I think, an emerging use case. And something which has happened a number of times, even though we didn't really look for it, is finding purpose and energy and a job while unemployed. And in fact, if you look on my blog site, this is not an official case study for the Institute yet, but the case of Sarah A. in Zurich, who used personal agility to shed baggage in her life, find herself, and then work on her resume, and ended up getting an amazingly good job that she's really happy with. So what does personal agility do for you? Well, we think of it as kind of a 4-step program. The first thing you learn to do is be trustworthy, to get things done. The next thing you learn to do is to be effective so that you can achieve long-term goals in the face of distraction and procrastination. And our key tools here are coaching tools. And so then what we do is we build on these coaching tools so that you can become a catalyst to help other people solve their challenges. How do you lead in an agile context? You give people the problem and help them solve it, not solve it for them. And then finally, to build that, to create leadership, okay? So that you can actually create alignment around what really matters And when you can do that, what you'll find is people see you as being the source of that alignment and are often willing to follow you. And that's what the personal agility program is about. So who do we see is going to be benefiting from it? I don't know if the executives really care about the certification, but they will care about the skills because first of all, it gives them authentic experience with agility so that they can lead to a place, a lot of executives are being asked to make their companies agile. It's a place they've never been before. And the agile frameworks that are all team and delivery based, they don't really make sense for executives who are neither parts of teams nor working in a delivery team. Team leaders and managers who used to tell people what to do. Now what do? Okay, well, they help them solve problems, guidance and support, and personal agility gives them the tools to do that. Same thing for Scrum Masters and Agile coaches. They know they're supposed to be, helping the organization transform, but what are the tools for actually doing that? Okay. Similarly, for product owners and project managers and business analysts, anyone who has to build alignment among stakeholders is going to find these to be powerful tools. And finally, and by the way, this is going to be the subject of our next meetup, Job Hunters Changing Your Life. I think Adelina is our super spreader here. She's helped a number of job hunters. I've helped a couple, kind of find themselves so that they can find a job. And, I just heard that the UBS is laying off 700 people. Sunrise is laying off 500 people. There are 100,000 people unemployed at any given moment in time in Switzerland. I think that there's a huge opportunity here to enable people to really transform their lives as they move forward. So basically, if you want to apply personal agility, you become a recognized practitioner. This is about actually doing it. Okay, this isn't a test that you take, you apply it to your life. The ambassadors are coaches who want to build that into their practice. The recognized coach program is taking shape. These are people who have a documented track record of helping people change their lives. Okay, and similarly for trainers. So with that, I hope that I have piqued your curiosity. As Jan pointed out, we have an active worldwide community. I've listed the ambassadors who are active here in Switzerland. You can find them on the Personal Agility Institute homepage. And I'd like to maybe refer you back to the questions Demande Questioni page. Fragen, let's not forget Fragen. There, if you go to the second slide, the second sheet, you'll see you've got the contact information for the Swiss ambassadors, like with our LinkedIn pages, if you want to connect with us. And if you got a question, reach out. Well, first of all, that's what the rest of this event is for, and we're really looking forward to your questions. So I'm going to say thank you and pass the talking stick back to Jan.
Thank you for the introduction, Peter. And now we are open for questions. Currently, we have 2 questions. I again copied the link to the spreadsheet. Please go on the question sheet and type your questions there. So let's start with Magda's question. Magda, maybe would you like to put it in your own words? Agile and personal agility.
Yes, but actually this question was answered because Peter already mentioned all the things I wasn't sure about, because my organization, we work in Agile, but I have never heard before about exactly about the personal agility. I wasn't sure how you define this, how it works, how it is similar to what we apply in our work, but now I have the clarity. Very interested, so for sure I will check some more information on the website. Thanks for that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Now then, let's go to the second question. Personal agility, that is from Carmen. Personal agility used in connection with parental and children and youth development. Carmen, would you like to share your thoughts about this?
Yes, thank you. Actually, this emerged as I am personally training on personal agility myself, and I'm also training and specializing in parental and youth development. I mean, there is still a long way to go, I believe, but from what I hear and see every day, talking to people, especially with people who have children, because implicitly that gives me a reason to be and to act. And so I would be very interested to explore more this idea that I mean, of course, I'm very focused on growth mindset in families who have never heard of it before, but I think it could add tremendous value to families as well if we could make it official. I'm not really here to give advice. I'm more of the opinion that I want to ask the right type of questions and strong questions that really ignite people's thoughts and that give people food for thought, and that will just ignite their curiosity. And I'm just obviously it's an idea that crossed my mind, training for parental coaching and for personal agility. Currently I'm using it for myself. I have been doing it before, but I didn't know that it had a name. And fortunately, there comes Peter, and we are very grateful to him for developing this kind of strategy. But it would be, I'm just curious to understand if you, how would you go about introducing personal agility to families, parents, and why not even children? I'm really trying to do this with my own daughter, but at a very smaller, easier level. I think it could be very well adapted as well for children, different ages as well. But yeah.
Thank you.
That's the idea. Incipient idea. It's a very, right? It's just getting born. It's just in the first trimester.
Thank you, Carmen. So the question is, if I get it right, is how do you apply personal agility in a family context? Did any one of you try it in a family context? Specifically personal agility, because I've seen it nowadays it's more and more people, Agilists, are trying, for example, to introduce a backlog with their children, or to create weekly sprints. Did any one of you try personal agility in your family with children?
Jose held up his hand. Jose, go ahead.
Yes, sorry, I was looking for the mute button. Yes, I use that with my son. He's 11 years old, and he was struggling doing his homework because I was feeling a lot of procrastination in him, and I found a way to explain him in a simple way what is personal agility, and I could remotivate him to do his homework because he was feeling always, overwhelmed with a list of things that he had to do, and I transformed the list of things to do into a more, I would say, ludic and fun part by putting stickers with colors, and this really helped him to relate back that what he does for his homework for school is related to something that is really tied to his personal objective to work with animals when he will be grown. So it is the kind of things that you can do easily. It's very easy. Just have to put a graph and use very small stickers, and it ran very well with my son. I'm trying to do that with my daughter that is 16 years old, but it's you just have to find the right angle, and the angle with my daughter is not found yet, I would say, but with my son it worked really well. because he sees the game of putting these stickers by colors. Each color is a topic that is really ready to he really enjoys, and I think it helped him to become more efficient and finally to have more time to do what he likes to do. It's playing and having fun with friends.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, at the same time, I'm very much aware that there is this lovely community here, and we gathered together this morning, and it's kind of like we know how it works, or we have an idea how we could apply it for our own families. But going out there, the people who are not directly involved in coaching in any way, corporate parents, they need help. So that's how I really came up with this interesting idea that we could use it for sure. For other parents, not just this, our coaching community, because it's just different. Thank you.
Yeah, that was very interesting, Jose. Thank you. A general comment maybe on my side, because Jose, you mentioned that you are succeeding with your 11 years old, but not yet with your 6 years old.
16, yep.
The thing is, agility is in many cases, and this is true for personal agility, but anything in agility, including Scrum and Kanban and whatever, is a lot about consciousness. Conscious and deliberate choices, as Peter said, to arrive to your Jamaica. So first of all, you have to be deliberate in choosing your Jamaica, where you want to go, and choosing your next steps that lead you there. And this demands some kind of consciousness from your children as well. And the 6 years old might not have that brain developed to a stage when this consciousness could be there.
I think he mentioned 16.
Yes, she's 16, and in her case,
I can tell you that it works with a 7-year-old, because my daughter is 7. So it can work as long as the approach is very adjusted and recalibrated for their age group. So it can work.
Correct. So yes, my daughter has to first struggle a lot before understanding that my suggestion is good. So I will get there.
I found working with my teenage daughter also to be very challenging. And it's interesting, when you ask questions to small kids, you can be really surprised at the results. And one of our ambassadors, her name is Janani from Sri Lanka. She has a son who's probably about 8 by now, if I remember, maybe even 9, if I remember correctly. And a couple of years ago, when she started doing personal agility, she asked him what really mattered. Okay. And the way he answered was by drawing a picture of what really mattered to him. And there were 4 topics. And I remember one was about, preserving the earth, and one was about exploring space. And I forget what the other 2 were. But what's really interesting is when you took the 4 words or 5 words that he came up with, first letter of each added up to his name. Okay, so it can be really surprising and really heartwarming when you ask kids these questions. And for me, personal agility is not a process to follow. It's a collection of questions, and those questions are the start of conversations. And I think what you're doing with your kids is as you start to ask them these questions. What really matters? What do you care about? What could you do? What do you want to do, or what makes sense to do, or what's important to do? These are invitations for them to think. And I think a number of the people reacted in the comments that, man, 6-year-olds are much easier than 16-year-olds. And I totally agree with that statement, because 16-year-olds are at an age where they're kind of separating themselves from their parents and defining themselves. And one of the things about coaching is you can only coach someone if they want to be coached. And teenagers often don't want to be coached by their parents. So that's, sometimes you just have to accept that. And there might be phases where there's nothing you can do. You're doing the best you can. But I don't know, I found that, at least in my case, when my daughter kind of got through that storming phase, all of a sudden, she calmed down, and all of a sudden she was more willing to listen to her parents, or at least to talk to her parents, not listen in the sense of follow their instructions, but we're open to the questions that they were asking. And it's a development thing. Shweta was saying something about you were doing personal agility in the family. I saw your comment in the chat.
Yeah, hi, Peter. Hi, everyone. So I have two sons and I have been applying personal agility for a long time now with my children also. So they have adapted very well. So how it started was I used to display my personal agility board physically on the wall, and the different colors, sticky notes and all those things really fascinated them. And they used to see me standing and just talking to myself and thinking about what is there on the wall. So I explained them what is it all about, and they said, yeah, so we can also make a similar board, and we also have a lot of things to do, and we can also work in similar lines. So this is how actually they came up with their personal agility board. And of course for them, the studies, the sports, game, food, all these things were the things which matter to them. So slowly, instead of imposing things on children, it worked in the other way, that I started asking questions from them, and they used to feel more responsible about their own stuffs, like when to study, when to play, how much to play, and how to handle the test and exams. So this is how it has really worked out well in my case. Thank you.
Thank you. I suggest we move on to the next question, which is directly connected to this. It's closest question, flip side to Carmen's question. What about elderly people, people who lack or lose their flexibility? Klaus says they lose the intrinsic agility and creativity. And the more general question, how can you use personal agility to spark creativity? Klaus, would you like to elaborate, or?
Well, actually, you said it all already. This would apply for people that are 55, 60 or older, whether they're at home or in business. And so do you see a difference, Peter, there between the, say, middle-aged and the elder ones, and how personal agility would especially help the elder ones in perhaps not so much structuring their life. I think they have a bit more experience and their own routines, but in terms of gaining more internal agility, if that is a problem at all in your eyes.
It's interesting because there's a famous saying: you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him think. You can ask him if he'd like to have a drink, and if he does, then he'll take the drink. One thing to remember about personal agility is it's really just questions. Okay, you can always ask someone, what really matters? What do you care about? Who do you want to be? Who are you? And sometimes people are happy with the answers, and they say, well, I am who I am, and that's who I'm going to be, and that's the end of the message. And for someone like that, I don't think personal agility is going to be very helpful. But I think especially those of us in the Agile community, we're kind of, we're always trying to get other people to do what we want. We want them to be Agile. We want them to do Scrum. We want them to do Kanban, or, we want them to do SAFe, or we want them to stop doing SAFe and start doing something sensible. I mean, we all have strong opinions about what other people should do. And that strong opinion is what provokes the resistance. And so, I think more in terms of a, invitation. Oh, I see you're struggling with this, would you like to talk about it? Okay, and that's an invitation to start the conversation. And then you go from that invitation, you use the questions of personal agility, to just kind of tease them into it. And if they're curious about it, you show them more. And if they're not curious, you show them less. And that's kind of, if the resonance is there, then it will be helpful. So I'm thinking of the case studies that we have. We have case studies of people who are well into retirement age. Larry Packheiser comes to mind as someone who has been, trying to be a very good operations manager, senior executive operations manager, for 25 years. He stumbled on personal agility on the internet, downloaded the book, and completely changed how he does things, and says, wow, I am so much more effective now than I've ever been. And so he's really happy with it. So, it's all about the person and the invitation. But I guess for me, the main thing is if you try to tell them to do something, the automatic biologically pre-programmed reaction is to say no. Parents of teenagers know what I'm talking about. And but it's really a human thing. But if you invite them and they see a benefit for it, then there's no arm twisting required.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Bertrand, would you like to add something to it?
Yes, thank you. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I relate very much to that question about helping elders, and also agree completely with Peter. I had my own mother who she's now 85. She lost her husband, my father, 3 years ago. Unfortunately, she submitted herself and was completely dependent on him for 60 years. She had no idea how to deal with administration, bank accounts, insurances, anything. 3 households, 3 countries. So I found myself suddenly taking care of her in everything. I mean, kind of literally like a baby. I've started with PASS 3 months ago, and I really rapidly realized I could apply PASS also to look after my mother. Basically, it was not about telling her about it, because she has a lot of struggles. She wouldn't want to understand and learn that, even conceptually. But I use it for helping myself to guide her, and I work effectively with questions, and everything I do, be it looking after her bank account or helping her move in a new elderly home, or even organizing the next eventual weekend or travel or whatever we can do together. I have a special board in PASS for my mother, and it helps me to help her. She has no idea what I'm doing, but it brings me to what PASS is for me, which is basically putting everything on the table, having an overview, zooming in, zooming out. What is out of sight is out of mind, and basically I bring everything on site. So I manage to not be overwhelmed anymore with the small and big things, even in case my mother. So that just the input about elder people. It's also about the coaching. I don't pretend to be coach for her, but at least a helping hand, and using PASS with that has helped me a lot to be more efficient, in brackets, for helping her. Thank you.
Thank you. I think let's move now. It was a very interesting discussion, and many of you seem to be interested in using the personal agility system in your personal life, which is one big area. And as Adelina mentioned, maybe to also have a balance between your professional and personal life. Now let's move into the professional life. Yari's question: how well C-suite takes personal agility system, and how long does it take on average for them to be good at it? Yari, do you have something more specific in mind, a case which we can answer, or is it just good generally?
No. I just something that popped up, in my mind, that okay, because Peter mentioned that he's been using these to train the C-suite, but then I started, okay, all right, they take it, and then actually I know that there are some executives who don't know at all what Agile is. So I don't know, do you really need to start from scratch, or how does it work with them?
Great question. Pierre, maybe would you like to start answering this one, if you wish? Okay, my other question: do we have any executives here in the audience who is using the personal agility system? That would be very interesting. Okay, if no, I can answer this, but before that, I would give it to Peter to answer.
Okay. It's interesting, two of our first case studies were executives. Walter Stutzer here in Zurich, executive director of a creative coaching agency, and his problem was that the company, basically the only one pushing the wagon was Walter, and he really needed to activate his leadership team, that they could kind of take over the leadership of the company, and really drive the company forward so that it could thrive. And the company was not in very good shape at the time financially. And one of the things that he realized is that he needed to start each week with confidence. Actually, he phrased it the other way around. He needed to end each week with satisfaction, and then start each week with confidence, because he, as the leader, needed to kind of broadcast that confidence, this yes, we can do it kind of attitude, so that his people would have that. And so, he was actually a very early adopter of personal agility, did not need much prodding on it at all. Now, at the time, his executive team was learning how to apply Scrum and agility to their work, and so for him, personal agility was just a very natural extension of how to go. The Ben Sievers, Maria's team, his company had done Scrum Master training, they'd done product owner trainings, they'd heard all about it, but somehow it wasn't gelling. So, they came in and they did they did a personal agility training and basically helped each other create their priorities maps, figure out what really matters, start having conversations about their whole lives and the challenges in their lives. And what happened is this built up the trust in the organization. So, it's kind of, if the willingness is there, then it's easy, okay? And one of my favorite expressions about change is, change is easy if you want to do it. There's this famous quote, how many agile coaches does it take to change a light bulb? Okay, only one, but the bulb has to want to change, okay? And that's really what it's about. So if you go to the C-suite and say, do this, I want you to do this. Sorry, guys, these guys, you think you got too much to do, you should see your C-suite. Every minute of every day of their lives is planned. If the company is more than, 50 people, and even at 50 people, it's a bit of, this is where the forces of Dilbertism start to take hold. So they basically don't have time for other people's brilliant ideas. But if they come to you with a problem, that's a completely different situation. Okay. Now I've been noticing that a couple of us have been called in to help companies who are having problems with alignment at the C-suite, and I'm actually looking to kind of position this as a, you have a problem, you have a C-suite alignment problem. Okay, well, we've got the solution, and kind of offer that as a consulting package. Now, I think one of the secrets, if I were going to add a pattern here, I would say listen before you talk, ask questions before you give suggestions. We have a tool called the Stakeholder Canvas, which is basically how to interview people to find out what's really going on in an environment. And if you spend time really listening to them in a non-judgmental tone of way, after they finish saying what they have to say, and you confirm, have I understood you correctly? Okay, they feel listened to. And then once they've done that, then they're ready to listen to you. Okay, so this is, if you reach out to them, everyone wants to talk about their problems. So if you want to reach out to them about their problems, and then really listen to the problem. Okay, and just at the end, you get to interject, oh, by the way, in my experience, you could do this, this, or this. And they'll say, oh, that's interesting, need to take a look at it. Okay, and you've kind of deposited the idea, and then they'll make time in their calendars for looking at it. Okay, so my experience is, the C-suite, they've got 3 layers of it's a fortress, with the layer of guards, and then another inner wall, and then another layer of guards, and then a personal bodyguard at the door. They're really resistant to new ideas. They're trying to be protected because there's so much demands on their times. But every once in a while, they come out and they need a solution to a problem. Okay, and if you happen to be that solution, then they'll talk to you and then they'll listen to you. And you might get their attention by speaking to one of their problems, wanting to hear about their perspective on a problem. So that's my take on it. Yari, how does this work for you? How does this line up with your experience?
well, I don't know. I'm not really like working directly with the C-suite, but sounds that well, I know that. Although like some of my ex-colleagues, basically they were like struggling explaining that they, for example, they don't have milestones because they were doing Agile and Kanban type of project, and that started to kind of resonate that okay, like how do you then start to explain personal agility to people who don't even know really the basics of these things? But as you say, like you start from the problem and then you start to introduce, like okay, this could be a good solution for your problem. And I think it really starts from their end rather than somebody trying to stuck something into their mouth.
Start from their end. So, for instance, I recently had a chief product owner in one of my courses. Okay, and one of the things that emerged or came out during the course was that she has 26 regularly scheduled meetings every week. Can you imagine that? Out of a 40-hour week, basically, all of her time is consumed by meetings, and all of all of her energy, and then where does she have time to actually make any progress? And so that could be just a question. How much time do you spend in meetings? How much time do you spend in pre-scheduled meetings? And how much of that time brings value to you or the organization? Okay, and all of these are questions to invite you to think. And sometimes they'll say, well, I'm doing it and it has to be that way. And then there's nothing you can do until they realize that there's a problem. But you never know. 6 months later, they may come back to you and say, man, I've been spending a lot of time in meetings. Didn't Yari ask me this question? You just never know how this is going to play out. So my strategy is inception. Plant the idea and wait for it to grow. Maybe networking. This was actually, we had a guy, Tony LaForgia, who he was a chief executive officer at, I forget where he was in Florida, I think some sort of experience park. And he lost his job rather abruptly, restructuring. And what was really helpful to him was his network. Okay, so he kind of reached out to his network. And it's when your network, like this mandate that I came on, this was a colleague, actually a client of, no, I'm a client of his. One of my customers knew that I was the guy to solve, to help this guy solve this problem. And so I just got an introduction directly to the head of the chairman of the board. And that makes it real easy to talk to top management. They have a problem, they ask around, they refer them to you, and bingo, there you are. And how do you get that kind of stuff? Well, by being the person who's going to be referred. So it's a 20-year process, maybe a 10-year process. I don't know, Jan. You do a lot of work with executives. How do you get their attention?
Yeah, well, how I see the personal agility system is it's an easier entry for executives actually to understanding what agility is all about, because I find it that there are two main issues which is hard to grasp if you are an executive. One is, and this is which is also very important to agility. One is teamwork. And the problem is how many times you hear an executive saying, hey, we must do real teamwork and so on, while they are not doing it. Usually they are individuals and individualistic, powerful people who has lost long time ago the feeling how it is look like to work in a real team. And this is a very hard part. And the good thing with personal agility is that you don't have this very hard part, but you have the other very hard part, which is focus. So you need these two things, focus and teamwork. And you can introduce executives to proper focus with personal agility without them being having the need for them to create a team, to think about who should be on, to create this initial momentum for a whole team. They really just need to decide themselves, okay, I want to try agility, and I can, with personal agility, it's only you who need to decide, and you can start tomorrow. And you don't even have to tell to anybody. Yet, what Peter mentioned, the alignment, by using, for example, the Stakeholder Canvas, by using personal agility, you already start to better utilize this network as an executive. you create alignment, and later it puts you in a place where it's much easier to create a proper executive team. And then you can lead by example as an executive, really creating priorities, ruthless prioritization, focusing, but also through what really matters, what we call in personal agility, what really matters. In general agility, it's more about finding a purpose, finding a proper vision, formulating it in a crisp way so that through alignment, you can communicate it very clearly. So it basically prepares you as a first step for all the other steps that are necessary if you are an executive. And I think this is where personal agility has a place in executive management. Jari, what do you think about it?
At least what I'm hearing, makes a lot of sense. But yeah, and I don't know if you've been seeing that, if there's some sort of like mandate from a CEO or somebody. Okay, now our C-suite, let's do this. Have you ever seen that kind of thing?
With personal agility?
Yep.
Yes. So, for example, I work with an executive who has found actually personal agility by himself, and he said, well, this is a great thing, and started to communicate not with the keywords of Scrum, let's say, or agility in general, but personal agility, because the values, if you read the personal agility guide, the values and the way it's structured, he felt it's resonating more personally. So when he talked about agility with other executives who were not familiar with that in his company, then he started to use this, and for him it resonated easier. Moreover, he started to say, okay, this is what some of my people need to learn before we jump into Scrum or another team-based thing. So yes, with some it resonates very, very well.
Yeah, this is actually kind of an interesting thing here. For those of you doing agile transformations, one of my customers was the CFO for the holding of a smallish, well, in absolute standards, smallish company. By Swiss standards, probably a medium-sized company. And one of the things that I invited him to do was to put his priorities map up on the wall of his office. Okay, so basically what that meant is that anybody who came into the office would see his priorities map, and there's the things that he's working on and what's in progress and a bit of his breadcrumb trail. And that's an example of leading by example. Okay, so anyone who came into that office, be it a customer, be it an employee, be it a fellow member of the board, they would see that thing and they say, what is that thing up on your wall? And he would explain how it worked. Okay, now what was really interesting is, a couple months later, they invited me to they do a leadership, what do they call it? A leadership retreat once a year. They invited me to give an introduction to agility for the senior leadership of the company. And, so I was talking to another member of the board of directors, and he was explaining to me why Scrum is good for the company. In fact, his explanation was so good, I incorporated it into my Scrum training. Okay, and so what's interesting is when, I think the problem that we've had bringing agility into the C-suite is because the way we practice agility is so far removed from the way people work in the C-suite that they just haven't had much resonance with it. But once they got it in a way that made sense to them, then all of a sudden they started using it, and all of a sudden it was powerful and obvious, and why aren't we doing this in the whole company? And we had the CEO of one of the companies in the holding. He started using Trello boards to manage work. And between the two of them, within a month, everybody was using Trello for something. Okay, and so all of a sudden that just made the whole agility thing so much easier. So, I actually think that personal agility could be the basis of a more viral approach to spreading agility within your organization. That the benefits are simple and obvious. The language is clear. There are no funny names to learn. And you see immediately how powerful it is for you. And then all of a sudden it becomes a no-brainer. Okay, and things like Scrum become much more intuitive.
Can I have additional question to Peter about this CFO? Did he or she put also the personal stuff on his priority list?
I believe that was a strictly business thing, but I don't know. Okay. That's always kind of an interesting question. When you're an employee or when you're working, part of a large organization, do you have a board for you and a board for the organization, or do you have one board? And there are kind of arguments going both ways. I personally I might mix personal and business, but I would only do it on a board that I control. I would never put personal stuff on a company-owned board, because I just don't have control over who has access to it, and I can lose access to it from one day to the next if somebody looks at me the wrong way. And that also has its problems. So there are advantages and disadvantages to both approaches, and I would encourage you to try it and see what works best for you.
And with that, we are at the end of the Q&A session. We run out of time. I think we answered a lot of questions. Stefan had also one, how do I learn more about the Purse Agility system? I suggested him to take a look at the Purse Agility Institute's website and to download and read the Purse Agility guide written by Peter and Maria Mattarelli. You can see the link there. And among this question, how differently the Purse Agility keywords or expressions are phrased than to other frameworks like Scrum. I think it's a good idea to take a look at the guide, but Peter more or less answered this already. For example, you won't find the weird word Scrum Master there, which really can have. Okay. With that,
John,
yeah, Peter.
Can I just jump in for a second? So I was active. I saw that question and I got active. This is, and I'm now sharing the screen with the, with our Google Sheet, and I've added a section info sources. Okay, and the first info source that I have is, well, probably the first one you want to look at is this directory of resources, articles, and other information. This is currently published on the SAT Network blog, which is an article I wrote from hand. We're actually just about to deploy a database-driven version of the same thing where we can actually add links to it dynamically, which will be on the PAI website. But that's an overview of what people are saying about personal agility, kind of getting started reports and long-term experience reports. There's some links to presentations and videos. There's, what do they call it? The press review, all kinds of useful information. The line 12 is the directory of trainers and ambassadors. I'll add, there's also a list of courses and events and nonprofit events, which might also be useful. And the last thing which you might want to take a look at is our blog. Okay, this is mostly written by Maria and myself, although any of our ambassadors could post there, and I think one of them has taken the initiative and posted their first article there, where we talk about, kind of leading edge ideas in personal agility. So if you want to find out about our thinking or how we're developing as an organization, as a movement, this is the place to look. And so once again, maybe if you want to connect with, the best way is personal information. So you can connect with the Swiss ambassadors on LinkedIn up here. And again, if you'd like to join our mailing list and receive updates about events as we move forward, please add your name down here. So back to you, Jan.
Exactly. And with that, I would love to give the word to Adelina for her to introduce the next such event, the second meetup on personal agility, the topic of which will be personal agility for job seekers. Adelina, the word is yours.
Jan. Thank you everyone for being here today, first of all, and contributing with your valuable questions. So as Jan mentioned, I would like to invite you to our next event, which will be on June 24 on Thursday at the same time, and we have the same format. And the focus will be on the transition to a new job opportunity. As a transition coach, I have been working extensively with expats, supporting them in making a successful career transition on a foreign territory. And personal agility proved to be an effective framework for job seekers to find their purpose in getting a new job. And at this event, we will have Jose as the guest speaker. Jose joined us today as well, and he shared his experience about using personal agility with his son, if you remember. And he will be talking next time about his experience with personal agility for job search, his challenges, and how personal agility contributed to a successful career transition. I will share the link to the event so you can take a look and register. I'll add it in chat. And I pass the stick to Jan.
Thank you. So this marks the end of today's event. Thank you very much for being here. I hope you feel that this was time well invested. Don't hesitate, as Peter said, don't hesitate to turn to us if you have any more questions about personal agility. We love to spread the word because we found this, this framework really helpful in various situations. And I hope, and I'm pretty sure that you will find it very valuable as well. With that, that marks the end. If you have any closing thoughts, please don't hesitate to tell it now.
I just
Okay, well,
wanted to say, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you. It was really nice. I learned a lot. So yeah, thank you for this initiative. It was really great.
Thank you.
Okay, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to, say thank you very much to our ambassadors, Tobias, Jan, Adelina, Pierre, Yara, who couldn't be here today. This is so exciting to see, the energy that we're bringing together and that we're setting free, and how, people don't do volunteer work if they don't care about the result, if they don't see that we have something to give. And, so I'm really appreciative of the work that you guys are doing. Thank you to everyone who came. It's my sincere hope and belief that if you start doing personal agility, 6 months from now, maybe even 3 hours from now, you'll be saying, wow, my life has changed for the better. And, if you do that, I'd love to hear about how it went. And with that, I'm going to say thank you very much. And, I hope you'll reach out to us with questions. So thank you. And thank you again, Jan.
Thank you. Great closing thoughts. And I hope we see each other the next time and in later meetups. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.